Oh, no more funny faces?
We're in the countdown now.
Close enough.
Reminds me of that.
Okay. So we're live now, and I will open the meeting in a few seconds when we hit 7 o'clock. I'll now call this May 6th meeting of the Oak Ridge Town Council to order. A warm welcome to everyone. It's great to see you all here, and welcome to anyone watching via our live stream on YouTube. We'll start with the invocation, and I would like to invite Sebastian King, a great friend of Oak Ridge, forward to give our invocation, and I'd also like to invite Eagle Scout Ethan Hartman of BSA Troop 600 forward to lead us in the pledge immediately afterward. Please keep your mask on if you haven't been vaccinated, if you come forward, and everyone else, please keep yours on at all times. Please rise as you're able.
Let us pray. Blessed are you, Lord God of all creation. You are the giver of every good gift, of life and of liberty, of peace and of prosperity, of wisdom, understanding, right judgment. We ask that in your divine mercy that you bless this town and in a special way the work of this council, that they may discern all that is true, all that is honorable, all that is right, all that is excellent, and all that is worthy of praise for our community. In this moment, make us mindful of all that brings us together in this community and how it surpasses all that can divide us. So with all things deliberated and done here, we may be preserved as one community under God. Amen and amen.
Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. King and Mr. Hartman. We'll now move to item number 2 on our agenda, a brief statement regarding the emergency. Based on a majority consensus of council, tonight's meeting is being held in person. Since council members and staff are fully vaccinated, we have agreed to take advantage of the allowance made in the executive order for those speaking publicly to not have to wear masks while they're speaking. The same allowance will be made to members of the public speaking publicly. If you come forward to the microphone, we invite you to take your mask off while you're speaking if you've been fully vaccinated. If you haven't been fully vaccinated, we ask you to keep it on. And we ask that all others in attendance tonight who aren't speaking public to keep their masks on as well. The public has been invited to join us in person, as I mentioned, and via our live stream on YouTube, and instructions for joining the meeting have been widely publicized. Our meeting agenda is available on the back table, and that, as well as all public materials for this meeting, are available on our website, as always. In this way, Oak Ridge is meeting the statutory requirements while complying with the governor's emergency order. A final note for council members: if at any time you can't hear what's being said, please speak up so that we can solve the problem quickly. We'll now move on to item number 3, approval of our agenda. Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Councilman McClellan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman. Councilman Nodine. Councilwoman Pittman.
Aye.
And I also vote aye, and the agenda is approved. We'll move to item number 4, approval of the minutes from our April 1st, 2021 regular meeting. Council, you've received those minutes. Is there a motion to approve them?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Councilman McClellan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman. Councilman Nodine. Councilwoman Pittman. And I also vote aye, and the minutes are approved. Thank you. We'll now move to item number 5, resolutions, proclamations, and announcements, and we have a very wonderful one tonight. We will be recognizing Stuart Chipman, Eagle Scout of BSA Troop 600. Please come forward. You can come all the way up to the dais because we want to honor you. And I want to also invite other Eagle Scouts who are in attendance tonight to stand as well. And I would stand to read this proclamation, but then I wouldn't have a microphone, so I'm going to read from here. Whereas, and you might, Stuart, well, I guess that's fine. Afterwards, we'll stop for a few photos and have you turn the other way. Whereas the Scouts BSA, formerly the Boy Scouts of America, has long been respected as an organization that helps mold young people into responsible, conscientious adults, and whereas the rank of Eagle Scout is considered to be the pinnacle of achievement within the organization, with the first class of Eagle Scouts being recognized in 1912, and whereas in order to attain the rank of Eagle Scout, a Scout must be actively involved in the troop's leadership, demonstrate that he or she lives by the principles of trust, loyalty, duty, obedience, helpfulness, and morality as stated in the Scout Oath and Scout Law, earn at least 21 merit badges, plan, develop, and lead others in completing a service project, and successfully complete a review by an Eagle Scout board. And whereas Stuart Chipman is a member of Scouts BSA Troop 600, and whereas for his service project, Stuart designed and led construction of a flag collection and retirement center, which includes a collection box, seating, landscaping, and a concrete area with a fire pit, all at the Oak Ridge Town Park, that will provide a site where United States flags can be retired properly. And whereas in so doing, Stuart has left behind him a gift to the citizens of Oak Ridge that will teach them how to retire U.S. flags in an appropriate and respectful manner. And whereas Stuart's project was awarded the Glenn A. and Melinda W. Adams National Eagle Scout Service Project of the Year award from the Old North State Council. Now, therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the town of Oak Ridge, North Carolina, I do hereby deem it an honor and a privilege to extend to Stuart Chipman our sincerest congratulations for his outstanding Eagle Scout project and the award. Thank you. If you'd like to come forward, we'll take a few photos if you don't mind, and you can invite your family to come forward. And council, if you want to stand and be in the photos, that'd be great as well. Thank you, and congratulations again.
Well done.
Yes, definitely well done. We move from that to more prosaic matters. Item number 6, a report from the Guilford County Sheriff's Office.
Good evening. I'm Lieutenant Trish with the Guilford County Sheriff's Office. I currently serve as a nighttime watch command unit. Captain Loftus regrets that he is unable to be here this evening. Just wanted to make a couple brief announcements as part of the report. The overall statistics for the Oak Ridge area are 56 total reports were taken regarding criminal offenses in the Oak Ridge area. Of special note, we had 1 auto theft during the period of April and 3 larcenies. Also wanted to make everyone aware that catalytic converters are a target right now amongst thieves. Specifically, they're targeting vehicles that are being left parked for a substantial period of time. Think church buses, possibly trucks or anything that might be sitting in a public vehicular area or parking lot for an extended period of time. They're targeting those, going in, sawing them off, and taking them away to be sold for scrap. So our recommendations are that folks keep a close eye on any vehicles, not even their own, but ones that they see around that they may live near. If they see anyone that's acting suspiciously around those vehicles, please call 911 as soon as possible. Don't wait to try and call a non-emergency number. We'd much rather come out and it be a case where there's nothing there than for folks to hold off or try and find a non-emergency number, something like that, and then there's a delay in us being able to get there and stop an individual that may have done a series of these catalytic converter thefts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a
Any
question.
questions?
Yes, sir.
We've had some folks here, particularly in our historic district, who have been complaining about vehicles that are excessively loud going at all hours of the nights. Is there any way that, or anything that they need to do to report that?
Sure.
911?
So my recommendation for a situation like that would be to, and I believe this is something that has been discussed between Captain Loftus and the command structure here in the District 1 area of the Guilford County Sheriff's Office. What we're asking for individuals to do is to try and identify which vehicles, and possibly if they're able to get like a tag number of vehicles that are a consistent issue. The way the noise ordinance violation works, a single time of a vehicle driving by with a loud muffler would not be appropriate for enforcement action. But if we have specific vehicles that are repeat offenders and are causing consistent noise, that with the totality of the circumstances could rise to the point where we've got something that can be enforced. Or ideally, if we are able to identify a specific vehicle and individuals that are using that vehicle, actually have a conversation with them about, hey, we've got this ongoing problem, it's causing problems for your neighbors, and have a discussion about how we can reach a good resolution on that.
About stationing police cars in that particular area and during the evening?
We are aware of that, and it has been tasked out to both night shift units that work. So for every night during the weekend, are aware that there's an ongoing issue, and they are trying to maintain high visibility. Once again, a vehicle that is just passing through that is loud is not going to necessarily trigger a traffic stop. So please understand, anyone who may see a vehicle go by, the fact that it is tied into the exhaust system, the muffler system, does create different parameters for what's enforceable action compared to, somebody with music going out of multiple speakers. The law treats those differently.
What happens if they're in their homes and they're hearing this and, it's a little hard to get out to the street to get that license tag?
Yeah, I understand completely. This is one of those situations where everybody kind of being vigilant together and realizing that it is an issue, especially for folks that may be in their home. As you're driving about, we encourage folks to kind of keep a lookout. Obviously, if our patrol vehicles that are aware and are trying to establish visibility are able to note that it's the same vehicle over and over again, that'll give us a direction for trying to follow up with them, either for having a conversation or for possible enforcement action.
if they're in their house and you have your cars out there, they should call 911, because if there's a consistent time frame that's coming in it, that this is occurring, this would help you guys. Am I correct?
That's completely fine. That's the fastest way to make a deputy aware of it. We just ask for everyone's understanding if they do call 911 to report a loud vehicle, just understand that that single call isn't going to necessarily result in that vehicle having blue lights turned on it and put on the side of the road. Just
Lieutenant?
understand it's part of the process.
And I've noted in my conversations with residents that it's pretty hard for regular people to get tag numbers, but you mentioned just a description of the vehicle and time of day. And I think there are a good many of these loud muffler guys who are also speeding. And of course, you can always pull them over for speeding, right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, and we are working with the sheriff's office and some other folks in town to try to find some solutions to this that are creative.
We're also getting, at least I am, and I suspect you have too, Mayor, people down on Peoples Road, reporting, trucks speed, kind of speeding and loud noise there. Of course, there's some construction going at the end, but apparently concerned that they may be exceeding the speed limit.
Absolutely. So the general guidance I would give is for a specific incident, if there's a chance of law enforcement getting there quickly enough to actually catch a traffic violation, 911 is the absolute fastest way to get a deputy dispatched to that area. If it is an ongoing issue where that vehicle has gone by, exceeding the speed limit, they've seen them do it multiple times, my recommendation would be to follow up directly with the district office so that it can be worked as more of a systemic issue rather than dispatching a deputy through 911 for something that happened 10 minutes ago and that vehicle's already out of the area or back in their driveway.
Best way is 911.
Once again, the fastest way to get a deputy out to that location.
Out there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, that's very helpful.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much.
We'll now move to item number 7, a report from our Oak Ridge Fire Department. We'll welcome Chief Gibson to the podium to present their monthly report. Thanks for being here tonight.
Hello, I'm Chief Gibson, Oak Ridge Fire Department. I'm just going to give a little report here. So last month, we did a total of 49 calls, which is down significantly from March. We had 82 calls. So we're not going to complain about that at all. Most of those calls, of course, is EMS calls. And then for our training, we had several people complete their technical rescue and vehicle rescue certifications. That is a North Carolina certification, and we do require that as employment. And we had a total of 901 training hours, and that's everything from apparatus equipment review, ropes, pulleys, anything like that. So physical fitness also counts into those hours also. What I would like to mention, as the weather warms up, the last couple of months, people are out cleaning up, they're burning. We have had several brush fires, either from something unattended or it had gotten away from the person burning it. That can real easy head toward a structure, cause a structure fire. Also, people are burning in their fire pits, their outdoor fireplaces. What we would like to say is when you clean those out, put your ashes in a bucket and then fill that bucket with water. We have had incidents where people take those ashes, put them at the tree line or wherever. All it takes is one small ember and a little breeze, and it's gone. So that's it. Any questions about concerns?
Doing a great job.
All right, thank you.
Thank you
How
so
about you
much.
guys? Questions, concerns?
Thank you, Chief Gibson, and you and Lieutenant Trish, you're welcome to stay for the meeting, but you don't have to. I'm going to try to keep it short, though. We'll move on now to item number 8, the Town Manager's Report, and we'll turn to Town Manager Bill Bruce.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Only two very brief items for your consideration tonight, both board reappointments. The first is consideration of the reappointment of Jason Streck to the Planning and Zoning Board.
And would it be possible for us to consider these together? I mean, maybe you should present both of them, and we could do them as council pleases.
And the second appointment is for Pat Fiorentino from alternate to full member of Planning and Zoning Board.
Thank you. And council, just as a reminder, the reappointment of Mr. Streck and the move of Mr. Fiorentino from alternate to full member have been placed on our agenda in response to a consensus vote of council. So I'll now invite a motion regarding these appointments, either together or singly.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we reappoint Jason Streck to the Planning and Zoning Board, and that we approve the appointment of Pat Fiorentino to move up from alternate to full Planning and Zoning Board member.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Vote either aye or nay. Councilman McClellan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman. Councilman Nodine. Councilwoman Pittman. And I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Streck and Mr. Fiorentino. Thank you for your service. And back to you, Mr. Bruce.
No further business from me.
Okay. We'll then move on to item 9, new business. Our first item is the consideration of our new park name. Council, we received recommendations from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board at our April meeting, and I see that one of the co-chairs, John Browning, is here in case we have questions. But is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the recommendation of our Parks and Rec Advisory Board and name our new beautiful park Heritage Farm Park.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Great name.
Ditto.
Any discussion, Councilman Nodine? Councilwoman Pittman?
I think it's great. I think it's unique, and I'm happy with all the work that was done. Thank you.
I am too, and I love that it recognizes that that parkland was historic farmland for well over 100 years, and I think that's terrific. So we'll proceed to a vote. Councilman McClellan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman. Councilman Nodine. Councilwoman Pittman.
Aye.
And I also vote aye, and we have a new park name. Thank you very much. We'll now move to item B, the presentation of our 2021-22 fiscal year budget, and I'll turn it back to the town manager.
I would actually like to first invite Mr. John Jenkins, the chair of our Finance Committee, to say a few opening words before I do my presentation.
John Jenkins, 6700 Ashton Park Drive, Oak Ridge. The Finance Committee had 3 meetings regarding the budget. We had one to review this year's budget and where we were with the status of that. We had another one to review next year's budget, and the third meeting was to review the planned capital expenditures. The Finance Committee had all their questions answered and approve or present this budget in conjunction with Bill, and think it's a good budget, and it represents fiscal conservatism for the town of Oak Ridge. Any questions?
Great budget.
I see at least one other, who else from the Finance Committee is here tonight? I just want to recognize you both. Is it Stuart, is that you? He's got a hat on and a mask. So Stuart Meese and Jim Harton. Yeah, thank you. Do either of you want to say anything as well?
I'm Jim Harton, 5901 Pepper Road, and I'm the newest member of the Finance Committee. So I would like to tell you that as a new member, it was an interesting process. It was a well honed down process. John did a great job, but I think you would expect that after a number of years of leading the Finance Committee. Bill was well prepared, and I would say, being a new person, it was hampered a little bit because it's been totally done by Zoom, and it's generally pretty hard to follow the numbers with Zoom, even though Sam did a good job. The thing I would say was, what I saw from the dynamics is that the other members of the team, as well as John and myself, certainly we didn't challenge every line, but we challenged ones that were important and to be questioned. And that could be either, is that too high or is that too low? So it was pretty uniform along the way. I felt that, as John said, I think we ended up with a good budget recommendation. The one thing I said that could be improved, because I was the new guy, is I went back and checked to see if the budget, et cetera, was following the strategic vision for Oak Ridge that's on the website. And I would say that is the case. And I think we were taking some of that vision and applying it to the items that we reviewed thoroughly over the last 3 weeks, through 3 meetings, and we have another meeting Monday night. So I just want to say, as the new guy, I was pretty impressed with the process, the way it's managed, and the challenges by the entire team.
Thank you. Mr. Meese, another new member.
Yes, hello, Stuart Meese, 1810 Wild Fern Drive. I'm relatively new to the area. I've been here about 3 years with my family. I moved from Blacksburg, Virginia, where I served in the New River Valley in a number of town roles. Also worked in city government in Roanoke, Virginia for a number of years. And I'll say I've been very impressed by the chairman's ability to run a meeting on time and ending in time. But I've been even more impressed by the town, the way that they've planned this community. When we were considering where to live, I work in Wake Forest over in Winston-Salem, got many options, but we chose to be here in Oak Ridge from what we had heard from so many individuals. And one of the crown jewels, as it says in this publication that I just was looking at, is the town park. And I think it's a tremendous investment that is being made there at that park, because it attracts all these young people right here. I have 2 myself and their parents, and it's a wonderful place to live. It's located in a wonderful proximity within the Triad. There's great roads, there's wonderful lot sizes, and your appreciation and your home is going up right now exponentially, which is always a good thing, and tax rates are low. Not that I'm advocating for higher tax rates, but it is a very affordable, nice place to live here. And I've been very impressed with all of the interactions that I've had with people, having lived in a number of different areas and being involved with communities and local government. So I wanted to applaud the chairman and council and others that have been involved with this process and making this place a wonderful place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. And back to you.
Thanks to all the Finance Committee members for their hard work over the last few months in helping to put this budget together. So included in Council's packets tonight is the proposed fiscal year 21-22 budget, including a detailed line item worksheet and a budget message. The budget was developed over the course of several months, working closely with Mr. Anders, the Finance Officer, the Finance Committee, and also with town boards and committees. And of course, many of the initiatives, both capital and operational, are derived from Town Council through the strategic plan and also through the capital improvement plan, as well as other adopted plans and ongoing projects. You may remember my budget message from last year presaged a very difficult year moving forward. While there were many challenges and difficulties, the town of Oak Ridge was fortunate in that our revenue remained healthy, property tax collections remained strong, and sales tax collections were even stronger. At the end of this year, we expect to exceed budgeted revenues by over $200,000. At the same time, town staff has held expenses in check, and we project to end the year $100,000 under our already streamlined operational budget. Fast forward to 2021, and we are poised to enter the new fiscal year with a $3 million fund balance and the strongest residential growth since before the 2008 recession. In keeping, however, with our traditional conservative revenue forecasting, we are holding projected revenues steady into the next year. On the expense side, actual operating expenses are budgeted to increase by 0.5%, or about $7,000. All in all, our budgeted revenues exceed budgeted operating expenses by $485,000. This annual operational budget surplus, along with the fund balance, is used to fund the annual capital budget. This year, the town has budgeted $855,000 for the first phase of construction at the newly named Heritage Farm Park, which we hope will be offset by a $450,000 Part-F grant request. Regardless of the results of our Part-F request, the town will be ready to begin construction in this upcoming fiscal year. The capital budget also includes $34,000 to be used as a match to the Special Events Committee's fundraising efforts for the Veterans Site, $37,500 for easements and construction on the Mountains to Sea Trail, $30,000 for extensive tree maintenance at the town-owned Union Cemetery, and improvements to dugouts and backstops on the ball fields at Town Park. We'll also be making a $250,000 debt service payment on the Whitaker property. The proposed budget has been debated and reviewed over 3 meetings of the Town Finance Committee and received their endorsement at their meeting on April 5th. The budget will be posted on the town website for public review tomorrow and comment for the next month, and a public hearing will be scheduled at Council's June 3rd meeting for adoption. I appreciate the opportunity to present this budget to you tonight, and I appreciate the work of the Finance Committee and Mr. Anders and his staff, and I'd welcome any comments or questions.
Thank you. And just so everyone knows, I think you just said this, but there will be a public hearing next month, but this is simply a presentation. So no motion is necessary tonight, Council, but you're welcome to ask questions or make comments if you'd like. Councilman McClellan.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, this is an outstanding budget, and as the chairman of the committee said, it's a conservative budget. Doesn't raise taxes. What it also does is it will increase, enough for staff to have some raises, it sounds like, and as well as for town councilmen to have the first raise in 15 years. Now, don't get excited. That means we're going from $100 a month before tax to $200 a month before tax. So I know, it's hard to believe. But I think this is a well-thought-out budget. I want us to, John, you and the committee did a great job of thinking this through. And my hat's off to you. And just want to say I really do like this budget.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman.
I just want to concur with the excellent job the Finance Committee does every year. I want to make sure everybody remembers that, all these meetings are done in public. The public's always invited to attend and see what's going on. So we try really hard to make the budget process transparent. I encourage you to take a look at the budget. We've done well to maintain it. And we're going to make a big commitment to the park, whether we get the Part-F grant or not. So that's going to take a hit with our fund balance, and we're going to take a look at how we can manage that fund balance. The only observation I make is I don't agree with the raise for town council. I realize it appears to be a small amount of money, and it is compared to the total budget, but I don't really see a need for, as members of council, to receive a raise of any sort. So,
Are you going to give yours back?
Okay, let's leave one person at a time. Councilman McClellan.
At next month's meeting, I will raise suggest an amendment to the budget to remove the raise for town council. I don't feel it's needed or appropriate. So that's where I stand on that part. Otherwise, I think the budget's an excellent budget, and I think that the Finance Committee did an excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Nodine.
Yeah, I concur that I think the Budget Committee did a great job. And like Jim, the only fly in the ointment is the rest to the raise to the town council. This is a tough time. People are coming at it. We've just gone through a terrible problem with money, people laid off, closed, people, excuse me, beaches closed. And I just think the idea of us getting a raise at this terrible time is just ridiculous. And so I would vote against the budget unless that is changed. Thank you. I think everyone else did a great job, but I think that's the only negative thing I can say.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pittman.
I would just like to say thank you to everybody that worked on it. I was the council liaison, and it was a new experience for me. And yes, he can run a meeting. Very, very efficient. So I'd like to thank Bill and Sam for working so hard on it, doing the background, and all the Finance Committee members for working through it with me and, helping educate me as well. I am looking forward to hearing the public comments. I would encourage everyone to look at the budget message. If you have any feedback, come back to me or come back to one of the Finance Committee members and let them get back in touch with their council. If you have anything, the questions and that kind of thing. And I also look forward to the just a public input, the public hearing next month, and wrapping this up next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for mentioning the public comment. It isn't just at the public hearing. It's anytime. You can call us, you can email us, take a look at it. It will be available here in Town Hall, the budget, with the budget message, and also online. And I also want to thank Bill our town manager works very closely with all of the committee heads and with Sam Anders, our finance officer. And that process is takes a month or two before it even gets to finance. And that's a very important process. It's also very responsive to the committees. Each can go out to their committees, which are all public meetings, and talk about the budget request and come in and make that request. And I also want to emphasize that our taxes are low. If you look at your property tax bill, remember that your town taxes represent less than 9% of your property tax bill. When combined with your local fire district taxes, it's less than 20% of your property tax bill. The other 80+% goes to the county. That's for schools, it's for Sheriff's Department services, Health Department, Board of Elections, and so on. The stipend increase, I think 99.8% of the budget is not the stipend. It's a tiny, tiny amount. And just so everyone knows, the council hasn't had an increase in this small token of appreciation for 15 years. So I don't think this is a big deal. I would say that despite having gone through a tough year, I think optimism is the order of the day. And I think that's the core of our budget message. And I think it's the core of what we're seeing around us for our town, our state, and our nation. So I look forward with optimism, but this is a vote of all of council, and we want your comments on this as well. So we'll make that decision at our next meeting. We will now move on to the next item, number C, which is consideration and approval of our annual financial audit contract, and I'll invite Finance Officer Anders to present this item.
Good evening, Council. Everyone should have received a copy of the contract to audit accounts. We're required by state law to have an annual fiscal audit of the entire town in years such as when we had a previous PARTF grant. We also have to have what's called a single item audit, or a yellow book audit is the slang in accounting circles. We have gotten the contract. The fee is in accordance with last year's. The contracts have been reviewed by myself for pre-audit purposes. Michael Thomas, our counsel, has reviewed the contract. These contracts are also reviewed by the State Treasurer's Department, and I have to have them in 3 copies. All 3 originals. One goes to the auditors, one stays with the treasurer, and one comes back to us after the treasurer has signed off on everything. Unlike other entities, when we have a regular audit, the financial audit is not just presented to the council. It is also sent to the Treasury, and the State Treasury Department or Treasurer's Department reviews it. They have their own internal auditors that review it, and it can be something as innocuous as a comma. In one of the opinions years ago, they thought the comma didn't need to be there, to a question on a accounting procedure. Overall, we've had clean opinions every year that we've had the audit done on the town. My recommendation is that we engage again with Dixon Hughes Goodman. This is the firm that has done our work for a number of years. With the controls given at the state level, everything is monitored. All the work papers and everything else have to be submitted and reviewed by the State Treasury Department. So this is a very closed loop system. Our items are reviewed, the auditors are reviewed, and the state has a look at both sides of it. Plus, most of our revenue sources are through the state, so everything there is monitored when it comes out to us. It's a very tight process. North Carolina is one of the top states in my opinion, because some other states, they require a compilation, which means basically nothing much to most of you. Martha knows well what I'm talking about, but it's about the lowest level of assurance. In North Carolina, we have to have a full-blown independent audit, which is the highest level of assurance. That's why North Carolina enjoys some of the most stringent financial controls and best quality financial items in our governmental units. So my recommendation is to accept the contract. If y'all vote to do that, I will get with the mayor right after. We'll execute the signatures, and we'll start the process of getting this in acceptance mode with both the firm, the state, and with ourselves, and then we'll move on with our annual audit.
Thank you. Council, you've heard the description. You have a copy of the contract. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt the contract to the auditors to audit the accounts. Is that the appropriate wording?
Approve the contract, I think, is rather than adopt.
Right, let's approve the contract. Thank you.
Contract to audit conduct accounts.
I was looking over there at the manager to make sure.
So the motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second it.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed. Oh, I'm sorry.
Couple quick questions. We've used Dixon Hughes, and they've done an excellent job. Is there any concern that we're using the same company frequently? Is there any need to switch it up every once in a while and use a different company so they get a fresh look at our books?
Not really, in my opinion, because there's two things. One, with the state treasury watching the auditors and the procedures they use, it's pretty much going to be the same procedures around. The other thing is, with Hughes being the size firm they are, we do have the same audit partner for several years in a row in the norm. However, the managers and the actual field auditors rotate. And they also have, like with the compliance paperwork, the testing and all that, they have an internal unit. Back in my days, back when we rode dinosaurs to do the audits, you did everything. You sat down and you did the confirmations that went to each bank. You had the same person handling every piece of paper, or the same 2 or 3 people handling every piece of paper. When their automated programs now pull the samples, they go to what I call the back office over there. They've got 90-plus people that are there, and what they do is a different person handles getting the bank information, and it goes out for those correspondence and the verification. It comes back into that person. So in reality, that audit team is not just 2 or 3 people anymore. It's blown out to where it's a couple of dozen handling the drafting of the financial statements, the review of the financial statements, the compliance with the feds, the state, and all of that. So because of that automation and the expansion of the team and the rotation within that, I don't have a concern Whereas in the old days, if you had the same person, back when our profession unfortunately had some bad apples, it was $100,000 cash stuck in someone's mailbox in the middle of the night. And unfortunately, that happened in several bank savings and loans. Now, with the regulatory overwatch by the state here and the rotation of staff because of the technology, I don't see a real concern about doing a switch up. We have been propositioned over the years, and I've looked at some of them. We've had, realistically, and I don't mean this bad, I'm a small firm, but realistically, for a two-person audit firm to come in and audit us is not going to go real well. You have to have two independent partners. So even though we have the same audit partner, there is another partner within Dixon Hughes that reviews his review of our work. And it's an industry standard where two partners that are not affiliated review each other's work or review the other's work before they sign off on opinions. So for that reason, I don't feel that we need to switch up or to go. And also, what you do with the biggest firms, a lot of times if you do a bid, they want multiple year contracts. They'll do it 3 years. And the tradition, unfortunately, in my industry of auditing is they lose money the first year, break even the second year, the third year, they score a home run on the fees, knowing that in reality, the client will be upset, and then you turn around and get somebody else, and it becomes a rotation among the top 4 firms. I like using a second-tier firm. They're big enough, they can handle us readily, but they're small enough where we are not being feed to death, and they're not playing any games with the fees, having it structured or demanding that we do it in multiple years. So for that reason, I feel comfortable.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further discussion, council? Questions, comments? We'll proceed to a vote. Councilman McClellan?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman? Councilman Nodine? Councilwoman Pittman? And I also vote aye, and the contract is approved. Thank you
ma'am.
for your help with
I'll
this.
get with you at the end of the meeting, ma'am, to sign.
Okay, sounds good, sounds good. We'll now move to item number D, consideration of a resolution R 2021-04 opposing Senate Bill 349 and House Bill 401 and the separate House Bill 496. I'd like, since Councilwoman Pittman worked with staff to craft this resolution, I'd like to invite her to read the resolution.
Resolution of intent in opposition to Senate Bill 349, House Bill 401, and House Bill 496, restricting local government control in land use and planning zoning decisions. Whereas the North Carolina General Assembly will be considering Senate Bill 349 along with House Bill 401, which would require local governments to include residential duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, and townhomes in areas zoned for residential use, including those areas specifically zoned for detached single-family dwellings. And whereas the town of Oak Ridge has developed a future land use plan with significant local public input, recognizing the unique needs and desires of Oak Ridge citizens, and whereas the town of Oak Ridge zoning ordinance and future land use plan both allow for a diversity of housing types and lot sizes while keeping a focus on preserving the rural and historic characteristics of Oak Ridge that give the town its unique identity. And whereas the Oak Ridge Town Council believes that local officials are best positioned to determine how local zoning ordinances should be created and applied, as they are responding to local voters and property owners, understanding the differing needs of their constituents. And whereas the Oak Ridge Town Council believes a one-size-fits-all approach by the General Assembly undermines local authority over issues of land use. And whereas the North Carolina General Assembly will also be considering House Bill 496, which would require that all local ordinances regulating the removal of trees be permitted only with the express authorization of the General Assembly. And Whereas the Oak Ridge Town Council believes that trees are an essential and integral part of our unique historic district, and also believes that the state-approved Oak Ridge Historic Preservation Commission, comprised of local residents, can best safeguard the integrity of our historic district and national registered designations in our community. And whereas the preservation of trees is a major objective of our Planning and Zoning Board when considering rezoning requests as specified in our tree preservation ordinance. And whereas the Oak Ridge Town Council believes that trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. Furthermore, the town of Oak Ridge is proud to have been designated a Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation for 5 years. And whereas the Oak Ridge Town Council believes that any state legislation restricting local tree ordinances will damage local efforts to preserve our rural and historic character, hamper economic development, and lower residents' quality of life. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Oak Ridge is opposed to Senate Bill 349 and House Bill 401 as it is currently written, and to House Bill 496 in its entirety, and urges our legislators to vote against these bills.
Thank you. Council, you've heard the resolution. Is there a motion on this matter?
I move we adopt this
Resolution.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilman McClellan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, there are 3 Republicans and 1 Democrat that are supporting this bill, once again proving that stupidity is not relegated to one party. This is a clear and present danger to every small town, medium town in North Carolina. It will create chaos in land use plans. It will completely subvert everything that, for instance, in Oak Ridge has done with a citizen-led land use plan that came, a planning board that came together and did a great job on our current land use plan. Mr. Brody, Mark Brody, some of y'all may remember his name. Mark Brody was the legislator that attempted to destroy our historic district. Fortunately, we were able to kill his legislation. And this person is, this is just a completely horrible thing. What I would suggest is that you go on the legislative website, and I'm sure our staff will be happy to provide that place to get the names and the emails for all of our state representatives and senators who represent Guilford County. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to get the names of, don't just email Republicans or Democrats, email both of them, because it's going to take sanity in both camps to help us defeat this particular bad legislation. The Senate bill also has, 3 folks in the Senate, or 4, I think. Am I correct on that, Mr. Manager?
It's also bipartisan.
It also is bipartisan. So I'm going to once again ask you to do the same. This is why you need to, your emails, they will listen to very much. This is a battle for, your town, not only your town, but every town in North Carolina. This is a important part. This is, when I first read this, came to mind what Governor Pat McCrory once said in a meeting, that, if state legislators that want to control local municipalities should really consider running for town councils instead of, and just like, folks that are on town councils who want to be city managers or town managers should actually take the courses and get the degree and become a town manager. We each have our jobs. Legislation is not meant to impose the will of a few on the towns of North Carolina. I think that these legislators should be, a message needs to be sent that if you want to be a legislator, then be a legislator. Don't try to become the statewide land use planning board.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman.
Comments?
Councilman Nodine.
No comment.
Councilwoman Pittman.
Just one thing that came to mind, especially since we have a large presence on our Planning and Zoning Board here tonight. And I'm looking around, I don't think I see an HPC. It not only affects our ordinances, it really would effectively silence the citizens' voice. The voices of our planning and zoning members, the voices of the council, which are essentially responding to the voices of the voters of the town. And I think that's what bothers me the most, because I really do think that local government is accessible government, and therefore it's the best government. And I don't think we need the state telling us what to do.
Thank you. Those were both very articulate support for this opposition. And I just want to say I agree with what Councilman McClellan and Councilwoman Pittman have said. Both bills run counter to our democratic processes and really represent a state-led usurping of our citizens' stated desires and our ordinances. So I'm pretty shocked that these have even gotten this far. But if we speak up together, we can defeat them. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, we'll move to a vote. Councilman McClellan?
Voting aye.
Or the opposition to the, Mayor Pro Tem.
Voting in
Right.
opposition. Oh,
Yes, it's aye.
resolution.
Yes, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman.
Aye.
Councilman Nodine. Councilwoman Pittman. And I also vote aye, and our resolution to oppose these bills is passed, and we will be sending it to all of the representatives and senators in Guilford County. Thank you. We'll move on to consider a scope of work regarding water for fire protection. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bruce to provide a summary of the Water Advisory Committee's recommendation on this issue.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Several months ago, the Town Council approved a scope of work to submit to the state for our $1.1 million water grant. One element of that scope of work was to explore the feasibility of a fire suppression system. The system may include land acquisition, well drilling and wellhead construction, engineering and construction of a storage facility for fire department access. So over its past 2 meetings, the Oak Ridge Water Advisory Committee has met with Chief Gibson of the Oak Ridge Fire Department to discuss a proposed scope of work to accomplish this goal. The committee modeled the proposed scope after a similar study that the town of Summerfield commissioned and the Wooten Company performed in 2016, which was then updated in 2020. Staff reached out to both the town of Summerfield and the Wooten Company for insight and guidance in drafting the scope of work. The scope's included in your packet. It asks a consultant to review several options for cost and effectiveness to study a water supply system for firefighting. And those options would be to look at the cost and feasibility of multiple ground level or possibly buried storage tanks and hydrants at strategic locations around town. Those tanks would be somewhere between 30 and 50,000 gallons. Secondly, to study the installation of an elevated storage tank on fire department property with multiple hydrants for fire department access. And third is the installation of an elevated tank and possible main lines along major roads linking with other strategic locations for fire access. We'd be asking a consultant to look at both wells and the possibility of purchased water from a neighboring jurisdiction as part of that feasibility. The Water Advisory Committee has endorsed this proposed scope of work, and it's your pleasure.
Thank you. Council, is there a motion on this matter?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move that we adopt the memorandum for the hiring is this for the, excuse me, before I make the motion, this is for the hiring of the consultant.
This would be approval of a scope of work to advertise for consultants to bid. I would then return a consultant's proposal to council for your review and approval.
Okay. I make a motion that we adopt this memorandum to give the folks, the staff, the right to go out there and solicit bids.
I'll second it.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there discussion? And I want to remind council, they can feel free to direct questions about this to Mr. Bruce. And also, we have the newly elected chair of our Water Advisory Committee, former Mayor Spencer Sullivan, is here, and I'm sure he'd be happy to answer questions as well. Councilman McClellan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What time frame do you think we'll be able to get all this done?
Well, we're hopeful that we would be able to move fairly quickly. I'd like to think 8 to 12 weeks would be a reasonable time frame.
8 to 12, so anywhere from 2 months to 3 months, am I understanding?
That would be my hope. Of course, this is dependent on the selected consultant and their particular timeline, but that's what I would hope for.
That's fine. I mean, so that's my big question. And the reason for that question is really this. We have a time limit on a lot of this money that's before us. With regards to the 1.1 million, we have until right now, until next, a year from June 30th. It will expire unless, of course, the legislature votes to approve the one-year extension that the mayor and I went down to meet with them about. In addition, we have the American, what the heck was that long bill that just got passed?
Rescue plan.
The American Rescue Plan, which most of you know has provided the stimulus. The town has received $2,060,000 on that plan.
We may receive.
You received that much.
We're waiting.
Up to.
That's what I saw in writing. And, you mean
But this project would be funded by
1.1 million. But the point is that even with the $2,060,000, there's a time limit on that of, I believe, 4 years until, 2024, well, that's 3 years. So time is of the essence. I personally, as a person, along with the mayor and Spencer, I have the opportunity of being the council liaison on the Water Advisory Board. This is an important thing, and it's an important step, because this will provide the opportunity to have fire suppression, which certainly meets, in my opinion at least, the mantra not only of the 1.1 million, which we know it does, but I suspect it also meets the requirement of the American Rescue Plan, which water. And so, I mean, this is something that can benefit all of us, because we are seeing less and less ponds, where the fire department has access. This will give us the opportunity to have, how many gallons are we looking at? 50?
30 to 50.
30 to 50,000 gallons? Am I correct?
100,000 possibly in the elevated tank.
And the elevated tanks. So, I mean, and these can be put strategically around our town so that our folks will have access to that. This is a great this is a great boost for, public safety issue. Now, because, I mean, I know the question comes, will a fire suppression system save my house? Well, the answer to that is probably not. But what it will do, and what it does do, and has been proven to do, it saves lives.
Right, that's a good point.
More than the house. So the fire suppression system, I think, will also help us possibly on the homeowner rates that you're paying. And I've yet to have seen anyone who ever thought they were paying too little when it comes to insurance. And so I hope that, you all will join us in this enterprise.
Thank you.
That Spencer is now the chairman of that.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman.
I think it is important that we look closely at, the ability for us to leverage this money for fire suppression. As has been pointed out many, many times since incorporation, that the number of houses have gone up dramatically in the area, but the number of ponds have either remained the same or gone down. So it makes it difficult. And as talking to the fire department, if they use that pond water, they basically have to flush that truck out afterwards to basically clean it back out. So being able to use clean water will prolong the life of the truck, if nothing else. But it also makes it easier things. But it also gives us the ability to leverage those sources of water, be it well or surface, that, we can potentially use them as points of use for our water system. If they're located near a development that has poor water service with their current provider, we can potentially go in there and provide better service. So it's a lot of enabling things that goes on here. So that's why I'm definitely in favor of researching this and seeing what we find out. Again, this is research. It's not a commitment to do anything. Basically, we're going to take the results of this study and decide which direction to go. So we're not committing to building these tanks yet. We're just looking to study these. So.
Great point, thank you. Councilman Nodine.
Yes, as you know, I've been a proponent of this community-wide water system, but I can see the value of a fire suppression system, and so I wholly support it.
Councilwoman Pittman.
The same. I fully support exploring water sources for fire suppression to ensure that our great fire department has water when they need it and where they need it.
Thank you. And I think Manager Bruce mentioned this, but Chief Simmons and the county, I'm sorry, what's his title?
Chief Gibson, though.
Yeah, the chief, but also Steve.
Thomas.
Thomas, but what's his title, Chief?
Fire marshal.
Fire Marshal. They were both involved in this process, and I want to thank you, Chief Gibson, for that and for bringing him along because he was helpful. I think this is an important study because it will give us a strategic direction. I think it'll be a game changer for water access for our fire department, to give them swift and efficient access to refill their tankers. I also think that this can possibly create a structure for future water development in Oak Ridge, and we want to look at all those options and weigh them very carefully. So thank you. If there's no further discussion, we'll move to a vote. Councilman McClellan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman. Councilman Nodine. Councilwoman Pittman. And I also vote aye, and the scope of work is approved. Thank you, Mr. Bruce, for your work on this, and thank you to the Water Advisory Committee. They've been very helpful. That's a great new committee. We'll move now to item number 10, the monthly financial update, and I'll invite Finance Officer Sam Anders back up to the podium.
I know y'all were just shaking with excitement at getting me up here for a second time, twice in one night. That's almost like finding the abominable snowman dancing in the backyard, isn't it? It's just exciting.
Double feature.
Make a lot of fun. Ray Combs used to constantly make a joke about I was the most exciting point in the meeting with this very sly smile. So I try to live up to the expectations. Okay, seriously, financials were sent out electronically to everyone. Overall, given this time of the year and the rotation and cycle of the fiscal calendar, everything's going fairly normal. Everyone should have received their financials. We are holding a strong position. We have assets of $3.86 million. Total liabilities of $56,000 minus our debt on the land. So a fund balance of $3.8 million. For the month, we collected $39,202.65. It's fairly normal for this time of year because the bulk of the property taxes on all the real estate has already been collected. So this is a normal drop down. We spent $106,627.45, so we pulled out a fund balance $67,424.80 for the month. We still are maintaining our cash at BB&T, Bank of Oak Ridge, and Pinnacle. The numbers are fairly low at BB&T. That's because the rates on the checking account and the money market there are very low. We've got the bulk of the money at Bank of Oak Ridge and at Pinnacle, where we're getting a better rate of interest. In your financials, you've got the supplementary schedule where you've got the budget to actual. with a listing of all of our expenditures compared to the budget. You've also got a listing of all of our expenditures, all of our items of income for the month. Following that is a schedule of the assets and schedule for our debt schedule for the debt on the Whitaker property. We have received a wire transfer remitting property taxes of $2,778.30, motor vehicle of $8,511.19. This totals $11,289.49. That was the collections as of April the 30th. So those should be in our accounts now. For the month, we had our normal property taxes and sales tax for the month. We also received some planning and zoning fees, interest, other park revenues, miscellaneous income of $1,000, which was from the sale of a surplus lawnmower. And Sandra had sent an email out on Wednesday to council and myself. She had received the final ABC revenue check for the year for deposit. With our ABC revenues at $198,107 for the year, we're at 121.5% of the budgeted amount. I've spoke to this matter many times. The ABC board is highly efficient, and we've got a really good, steady income stream with that. And the council years ago, when they entered into that agreement with the Triad board, it proved to be extremely, extremely good. The investments, as I spoke to, are being monitored. For the month, we've supported the staff with contracts, several questions during the month, and then the budget tonight, my staff and I have supported. The committee, as always, has been good to work with. Bill has been good to work with. We've done everything from Zoom to email and meeting face-to-face a little bit, of course, mask and 6 foot away from each other. But this year's budget was fairly easy. Last year we learned enough about Zoom so that it made it a little more efficient this year, but everything went well. We've got some really bright people on that committee. They're a delight to work with. Every request that we had for anything else in depth or detailed was reasoned, and they were a real delight to work with this year. And of course, Bill, we had a very smooth process this year. We've worked with each other long enough, and everybody that Bill got information from, all the different committees and the staff members, everybody really stepped up, got what was needed so that everything could be done in a very timely fashion. So this year, we only did 4 drafts of the budget. Last year, because of COVID, we drafted 11 times. So much more efficient this year, and I'm very glad to say that you used the word optimism. Optimism is the very good thing, because we are in really, really great shape compared to what we thought we were going to be a year ago. It's amazing. But that's everything. The only other item I do have is as part of our month, as we're closing in on the end of the year, we have looked at some adjustments. I do have a request to adjust expenditures, budgeted expenditures, up by $4,574. This is a $449 increase in life insurance on the town. We received new updated rates from our insurance carrier, and since the life insurance is a percentage and function of payroll, the new rates are higher than last year, so we've needed an extra $449 to get us through the end of the year. $500 more for office supplies, $500 more for advertising, dues and subscriptions, an additional $3,000, and an additional $125 on the liability insurance based on the new rate that we just received. The dues and subscriptions is primarily higher because of the subscription service dealing with the website, the new website vendor that is handling the upgrade on the website that we've been going through. So it's a total of $4,574 increase. We would take that out of fund balance, and so I'm asking for this budget amendment.
Council, is there an amendment? I'm looking at our CPA. Is there a motion?
motion that we do the budget amendment as Sam has recommended.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Councilman McClellan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman. Councilman Nodine. Councilwoman Pittman.
Aye.
And I also vote aye, and the budget adjustment is approved. Thank you. And now we need to do a motion to accept the financial update as presented. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the financial report as presented by our Chief Financial Officer.
Is there a second? The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Councilman McClellan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman. Councilman Nodine. Councilwoman Pittman. And I also vote aye, and the financial report is accepted. Thank you very much. Moving right along, we'll move to item number 11, a period of public comments. We'll ask speakers to be brief and to provide their name and address before speaking. And again, if you've been fully vaccinated, you may take off your mask while speaking publicly. And is there anyone here who wishes to speak in person? We'll start there. Yes, come on forward.
Ron Simpson, 8022 Fogelman Road, Oak Ridge. I wanted to commend the council for your quick and unanimous approval of the resolution opposing that legislation from General Assembly. I don't know that I've seen very many pieces of legislation that are more malicious in terms of interference at the local level. These initiatives impose unnecessary restrictions on the reasonable exercise of local control by governing bodies. You know that I'm a more than 12-year veteran of your Planning and Zoning Board, have been vice chair and chair. I'm now speaking only as a member of the board, but I want to tell you or remind you and those in the audience that the purpose of zoning is to bring order where there might otherwise be chaos. As a service to citizens, towns use planning and zoning to encourage balanced, orderly development that achieves fairness for property owners and is responsive to development plans of the town. When the General Assembly takes authority from the locally elected executive bodies and imposes a set of outside standards, local buy-in is lost. So I would just simply conclude that local governance is the most participatory and responsive form of community decision-making. I commend you again for having unanimously approved this. My wife and I have written letters to our representatives and senators calling out the deficiencies in this legislation, and I urge others to do so. It's truly an unwarranted interference with local control. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. We appreciate it. You're weighing in on that issue. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight? Mr. Foy, come on forward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Miles Foy. I live at 2328 Oak Ridge Road on the south side of the road right across from the Academy. The subject of my concern tonight has already been addressed by the council. The representative from the Sheriff's Department gave us some very useful information, and I thank the council for its interest in this question of the noise created by the traffic that flows through Oak Ridge Road and Highway 68 every day. It seems to me the problem has increased over the last year pretty significantly. I'm not sure why. It's a problem that's understandable. We need to deal with it, and I would like to express my support for anything that the town can do and anything that this council can do to make this traffic flow calmer and quieter. It's really gotten to be quite a problem, at least for those of us who live by the road on our side of 68, and I suspect the problem is the same up and down 68 and on the other side of the intersection going west. I do have one specific suggestion. The school zone that protects the academy, it seems to me, is too narrow. It seems to me it could easily and logically be extended eastward along Oak Ridge Road so that it encompasses the playing fields that are on the north side of the road owned by the academy, but used now pretty extensively by athletic teams, softball teams, including teams involving very small children, and the hours of use extend beyond the usual hours posted on the signs that regulate the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. The school zone now, as it's now configured, ends before the activities of the school actually end. And I don't know what the DOT regulations about this are, but if there's anything the town could do to consider that issue, consider extending the zone, that might contribute in a small way to the calming and quieting of the traffic that's flowing through the town. So thanks very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Come on forward, Major Ford.
Major Ford, Oak Ridge Military Academy. Mr. Foy, I agree with you. I live right there. Normally about 6:30 in the morning, there are several cars that go by. I'm a 5 o'clock riser. 5 o'clock riser, but I go down at midnight on most days, and it is quite noisy. We have several that drive through. Their mufflers are extremely, extremely loud. They don't hesitate the minute they hit that school zone to rev, slow down, rev, slow down, rev, and I think you would agree with me on that. The other is the zone, and I have to agree with him on that. The zone pretty much coming from that east side pretty much stops like right at his driveway, halfway through that ball field. And I think with the motion to extend that or to look at that, I would ask the city to do that, see what we can do. The other is the time. My cadets actually do not finish their day until 6 o'clock. If we can extend that until 7, I have day students until 6 p.m. Parents don't pick up. I still have cadets crossing that road to go to dinner at 6:10 and back again by 7. You know, so again, if the time can be increased, that would be great. I know, Mayor, you have called me on that. That's why I'm here today. You let me know what you need.
Thank you.
Okay.
Your
And so-
support, your input is very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
The town manager taking notes, so I have a feeling he's going to take a look at it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for speaking.
My pleasure.
Would anyone else like to speak? Mr. King? Oh, you're next.
Hold on.
Actually, let's let Myra Blackburn speak first, since she's probably speaking on the same issue, and you're probably not. Thank you for being here tonight.
Myra Blackburn, 23455 Oak Ridge Road, just down the road from the Academy and the Foys. And I second everything that they said about the noise. This one at 6:30 in the morning gets us up. And we're closer to the highway than they are. And the speed through there is unbelievable. And we've got some video we can share with you. Gary stood out in the yard and videoed some of this, and you could hear one when he geared down at the stoplight, and then you could hear him going down 68. He's that loud. That's really not why I came up here. This is a personal thank you to the council for what you're doing behind us here with the park. I love the name, and I'll tell you why. And the Veterans Memorial that is going up. I grew up in the little white house that is no longer there behind us here. My daddy was a World War II veteran. I was born in an Army infirmary in South Carolina. And when he was discharged after the war, he brought his little family to that little white house. Someone with a metal detector went over that property before the house, I think before the house was raised, and they found my daddy's dog tags. And I just wanted to share with you tonight how special that is to me. Town Clerk Sandra Smith called me, said they had found them, and she's been holding them for me. And before the meeting tonight, she brought them out to me. So a little human interest and a personal thank you.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. King, I don't know if you can follow that.
Miss Blackburn was my English teacher, and she knows I didn't want to follow her, and then she gives a heartfelt speech like that. But Sebastian King, 3213, Stoneburg Court. I come to the council today to applaud you for standing up to the legislature. I have been a policy advisor in the North Carolina General Assembly. I currently serve as government affairs in the General Assembly. So it is safe to say I've seen good laws that empower folks and make our state a better place, and I've seen really bad laws that have passed. But these proposed laws would completely undermine the local government authority and erode the people's confidence in their local government and empower the state. We hear so often that there is separation of power issues going on in our government by both parties. This completely infringes on the separation of powers of local government, and it really increases the state's presence. Well, these members need to understand is there's a thing called pilot programs, and if they want that bill so bad, they can have it in their own towns, but they don't need to come to Oak Ridge, they don't need to come to Summerfield, they don't need to come to Stokesdale, because these communities are special, and they're special because the people that have led the direction and the history of those communities. That doesn't need to be changed by Raleigh. The one-size-fits-all policies continue to fail, and North Carolina does not need to continue to fail with the one-size-fits-all policies. Let's empower the people, let's empower our towns. That's the best form of government, and I'll be working very hard to defeat these bills in the legislature while I'm up there Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So thank you guys for that resolution.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here tonight who would like to speak? And Town Clerk, is there anyone who submitted comments by email or phone? Which I just want to remind everyone watching by live stream, if you do want to comment, or if any of you don't want to come next time, you can submit your comments in writing by email to the Town Clerk, I think by 4 p.m. on the day of council meetings. Thank you to all who spoke tonight. We'll now move to committee reports, item number 12. And I'll now invite brief reports of up to 3 minutes from each of our boards and committees, and the Town Clerk will read any that have been submitted in writing. We'll start with Historic Preservation Commission.
Thank you, Mayor. Debbie Schoenfeld, who is the chair of Historic Preservation, sent in this report. The HPC met for its regularly scheduled meeting on April 2nd via Zoom. We met with representatives of Hill Studio to discuss the village feel vision of Oak Ridge. Other work that the commission is doing includes working with Carol Key, a graphic artist, on the Illustrated Design Guidelines project, which is continuing while the content is being reviewed. Carol has not yet received the information to revise the guidelines to include the new legislation regarding the 160D changes. Town Clerk Sandra Smith, Caroline Ruck, and Ms. Schoenfeld are working together on a book project, and Ms. Schoenfeld and myself and Barbara Engel, along with expert historians Benjamin Brigg and David Hoggard, met to review a grant application, and the grant recipients will be announced later this month.
Thank you. We'll move on to Planning and Zoning. I think we have someone. Report. Oh, we did have someone, but we didn't have a chair or vice chair. Oh, we have a vice chair here, but go ahead.
This was submitted by Chair Nancy Stoudemeyer. The Planning and Zoning Board met on April 22nd, and the main order of business was a discussion with representatives of Hill Studio about the village feel of Oak Ridge and how we might incorporate those ideas into future developments. The Tree City USA Committee also provided an update on their activities. This year, they are working with a photographer to document the town's treasure trees, which were identified in 2019. The Tree City USA Committee has room for new members. If anyone is interested, please fill out a volunteer application form at Town Hall.
Thank you. And Mountains to Sea Trail Committee?
I have that as well. This was submitted by Ann Steele and Bill Royal, co-chairs, and they have submitted some pictures, which are up on the screen. The committee met via Zoom on April 27th to review past progress and plan upcoming activities. 13 volunteers participated in a bridge-focused workday on Saturday, April 17th. We strengthened supports underneath the main bridge and added 2 small retaining walls, widening the path leading to each end. We also added several hundred screws to finish securing the deck boards. With main bridge construction now complete, the committee will be shifting focus to other parts of the trail. Emergency locator signs in the Cascades Preserve and the Headwaters Trail were officially registered in the Metro 911 system this month. We appreciate the continued support from the Oak Ridge Fire Department and Guilford County EMS for helping get this completed. The committee would like to remind everyone that if you have a problem on our trails that requires emergency assistance, call 911 and give the 4-digit number from the nearest marker to the operator. This will help rescue personnel reach you in the fastest way possible. And finally, 2 work days are planned for Saturday, May 15th and Wednesday, May 26th, both from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. We will be adding new dirt to the trail in a wet area on the Headwaters Trail and improving a washout area. Sign-up Genius links for anyone interested in volunteering have been circulated via email, and events are posted on the MST Facebook page.
Thank you. And Conservation Easement Committee hasn't met yet, so we'll move on to Special Events Committee. Patty Dumachowski is here.
I love how she just bounces up.
And good evening. Patty Dumachowski, 7320 Hidden View Drive. The committee decided on the name for the site, and it is going to be called the Veterans Honor Green. The name honors all veterans, living and deceased, and acknowledges the green farmland that it's located on. The name was approved by the individual town council members. I also met with Parks and Recs Advisory Board to have them approve the name and to continue to communicate the current status of the Veterans Project. The construction document for the site has been approved. This was coordinated with Bill Bruce and Revington Reeves. Going forward, Revington Reeves will be working with McGill and Terry Landon on the project. I'll continue to interface with the different groups and provide communications where needed. The committee finalized the fundraising pamphlet. It details the different dollar levels available for sponsorship, the generous pledge of the town council to match donated funds up to $68,000, a brief history of the development of this site, and the features of this site. The pamphlets have been shared on all the social media platforms. This includes the town website, the town Facebook site, and Nextdoor. They're also available at Town Hall, and we have some available tonight as you signed in. We've also identified area sponsors that may be interested in donating, and we'll be reaching out to them during the month. I also met with the Kiwanis Club this past week and gave a presentation on the development of the site and distributed the fundraising pamphlet also. And I hope everybody noticed the Kernersville News did a wonderful front page article on the new site. While finalizing the pamphlet, we discovered that we needed permission of each military branch to use their seals. We were not allowed to use them on any fundraising literature, but we can use them on the individual monuments at the site. Sandra Smith has been coordinating the correspondence to obtain permission, and so far we have gotten approval from the Army and the Navy. In addition, the seals are required to be manufactured by an approved manufacturer, and they also have to be in a particular order. So we've learned a lot about the military seals. The committee is also working on finalizing the Memorial Day ceremony at the amphitheater in the park. This will be on Monday, May 31st, and will start at 10 a.m. Included will be the participation of the local scouts, various distinguished members of our town, and guest speaker Gary Blackburn. We will also have a presentation from Milana Nostrad, a scout on her service project to document the veterans in all the local cemeteries. And she does Civil War up to all the current conflicts. It's actually was a great project. The Northwest Guilford Women's Club will also be participating in the event, and please join us for a wonderful morning of veteran tributes. Any questions? Thank you.
You did a really great job at Kiwanis.
Thank you so much. We're available. I'm available.
It's Renta Patty. She does do a great presentation. We've seen that. We'll move on to Parks and Rec. And we have Mr. Browning here.
Hello, everybody. I'm waiting my time this time, Mayor. I'm John Browning, 8024 Linville Road. It's great to be with you. Just wanted to present, I'm the co-chairperson along with John Garrett of our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. We held our meeting April 15th in person and Zoom. We continue to have a lot of requests, which is exciting to us, for the use of the park facilities, but I did want to highlight 2 requests that we approved, both from the elementary school. The first from the drama club to use the amphitheater to present a play, Princess and the Pea. That will be April 22nd at 6 and April 23rd at 2. Tickets are available online, and they're available. It's open to the community, and the plays, tickets online for that play. The second request from the elementary school is for the 5th grade promotion ceremony to be at the amphitheater. I think it starts around 8 o'clock in the morning with breakfast and fun in the park till noon, and then Rio at lunch, and then I think they're going to go to the pool up here. So we were quite happy, as always, to work with the elementary school. I think we developed a good relationship with the school, and we waived all the fees to the elementary school for the use of the facilities. And just a reminder, Music in the Park, the first one, April 10th, was canceled due to inclement weather. So this coming Saturday, May 8th, will be our second scheduled, and hopefully the weather looks good, and George promises not to let it rain Saturday, so I think we're going to be good. They start at 6:30 and go to 8 o'clock. It's free, but donations are requested for the band, and it's going to be the Grassifieds, which is a bluegrass band, but again, always a good time at the Music in the Park. And we're going to reschedule the first band, Tyler Millard Band, July 10th with Modern Barefoot. So that's a good 2-for-1 special for everybody. Modern Barefoot tends to be one of the most popular bands out here, so we're definitely put that on your schedule for July 10th. So that'll be a fun night. I did want to pass along it was a pleasure working with the town council to come up with a name for our new property, that Heritage Farm Park. It seemed like we started in February getting this, and it seems like a no-brainer. It should have taken like 2 hours to come up with a good name, but that name is so fitting, and we appreciate y'all working with us. And again, when Patty's group, the special events, the Veterans Honor Green, I think both names just will complement this Heritage Farm Park so well. And I just want to remind everybody, the farm park, the perimeter trail is open, so if it's too crowded at the existing park, have a little peace and quiet at the Heritage Farm Park. So any questions?
That was a statement. As far as the Princess and the Pea, I bought my ticket today.
Very good, George, yeah.
$1, and it
So
goes
did
for
I.
a great cause.
Yeah. And that's a good afternoon or a good night out. So it flashbacks to elementary school, so I might have to catch that too. But yeah, and again, we're always happy to work with the elementary school.
Great job.
Yeah, well, thank you, George. And again, I appreciate Ms. Meyer saying what she did, because we all have a good shared sense of pride in the park. I know everybody here, the council and all the groups, and we're want to keep it the best places, and I think is what makes Oak Ridge the place that it is. So thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. Finance, is there a finance guy here? There is, Mr. Jenkins.
John Jenkins, 6700 Ashton Park Drive. Any committee is only as good as the team members on it. And Jim and Stuart were great additions to the Finance Committee. Paul Benz is there. And those guys are committed, they're skilled, and they brought a lot to the table. It also depends on the quality of the information that you have to work with. And Bill and Sam were just stellar in giving us financial statements in a format that was easy to review and made it just really easy to go through them and review it and ask questions and get answers. So I just wanted to bring that out. This is probably one of the best, most qualified finance committee that I have been a part of since we started this thing. The other thing I wanted to say, we have another meeting scheduled for May 10th at 6 o'clock in the evening to review any changes that might have taken place between the time we approved the budget and before the next public hearing for the budget. And I truly appreciate the commitment of you and Martha and the other committee members. It's tough to do it over Zoom. I like face-to-face much better, but we got her done. Thank you.
Thank you. And Water Advisory Board, we don't have a report this month. And we'll move on to community organizations. Again, we'll invite brief reports, and I'm so glad to see that Major Ford is here to report. Come on forward to report on the Oak Ridge Military Academy.
Good evening, Major Ford, Oak Ridge Military Academy Director of Admissions. This last school year, we have enrolled 113 students. 26 of those students were from 13 states. 85 of those were from 42 North Carolina towns and cities, along with 2 international students. This year we have a senior class of 11. That senior class right now all have applied to 3 of the top colleges that they wanted to be accepted to, and all have been accepted to at least 1. Those colleges right now are Northern Michigan University, the Citadel, Wake Technical Community College, Mars Hill, Anderson College, Jefferson State Community College, University of North Carolina, Wilmington, the United States Merchant Marine Academy. My son was accepted to Gardner-Webb, and we have one that has decided to enlist in the United States Navy. Great group of individuals, and we look forward for them to have a very successful future. When we look at Oak Ridge, and I came into town in 2019, and we look at where the school is today, a lot has changed. We have a re-enrollment for 2019 and 2020 school year, 2020-2021 school year. That has been over 70%. Those have been completed by, we average about 4 visits a week, net brand new visits. Families that have never been to the academy. I went back and looked at my calendar and my admissions counselor's calendar, and since August 1st of 2021, that was 145 families that came up here to Oak Ridge. Also, we have scheduled 1 open house every 6 weeks with an average of 6 families that, again, come in tour the school, meet the staff, and are deciding on whether or not they are looking to enroll their sons or daughters at Oak Ridge. This last year, we added an 8th grade accelerated STEM and humanities program. We added aeronautics as an extracurricular activity with over 16 students involved in it right now, and they will also offer a summer camp program coming up late June. We added a swim team. Of course, we have a 4-lane pool, so it was something that the students said, hey, what about? And we said, let's try it out, and we actually had over 9 show up for the team. So we will look to continue that into next school year. Additionally, at the end of last school year, we added a leadership camp for returning leaders. That was a 1 to 2 week camp. We also added a battalion bugler, and we added back in battalion drums also. So things are looking pretty good. Coming up this next school year, we are going to again offer cybersecurity. The one nice thing that our 8th graders are excited about is that we are also going to add 8th grade junior ROTC. We will be the pilot program, which means we will add now a 5th leadership science. Junior ROTC, of course, normally starts at 9th grade. We will now be able to start them at 8th grade, and they will be able to participate in all activities offered by junior ROTC, which means color guard, middle school drill team, things like that as well. So they're excited to hear that great news. Summer camp. This last year, we enrolled 64 into 3 camps. We had 2 leadership camps, and we had the academic camp. We are also having that again this year. So far, we have well over 70 applications for, as a total of all 3 camps right now. We're going to have to look at logistics, and we still have 7 weeks to go. So again, that just kind of tells you where the community is. You know, parents are looking for more activities. Their kids have been confined to home, things like that. And again, we're seeing that come in from all states. Again, how we get there, we have gotten there through marketing. We have a billboard on Market Street. We have one also down by Horsepen Creek. Those are electronic. So we get to advertise Oak Ridge about every 3 seconds. A message comes up, so we're able to advertise the school year, summer camp. We just put one up there congratulating our seniors, things like that. And we also have one located down by Fort Bragg. Other things as far as direct marketing, our message is now not only domestic, not only North Carolina, it's across the United States. We are using a company called Boarding School Review and Private School Review, and we are also using another company that heads out internationally. And again, as far as the school, we have not focused on international, we focused on domestic. We did not find ourselves in the same boat as a lot of schools when COVID came in. A lot of schools, their numbers just went down. Our numbers continued to increase because of our focus, and that continues to be our focus, okay? So one of the other things is that one of the companies recently offered us internationally marketing through social media, on their website, pictures, things like that. So again, we're going through that as well. So hopefully over time, we can see an increase in our international, but again, the focus remains domestic. Okay, so our goal for this next year is to, again, be well over 100. We had a 28% increase. My goal is, again, 28% increase for this next year. And again, it starts with re-enrollment, and we're already at 70%. So the school never thought, when I walked through the door, based on what other people had said before me, that, hey, we don't know if we can get there. We can get there. The school needs to survive. It's a great institution. It's a great leadership academy, and it's a big part of Oak Ridge. And it wouldn't, if it wasn't, it wouldn't be on that seal. And so, pretty nice. So, any questions?
Thank you for coming.
Great
and giving
job.
us the update. It's wonderful.
Yeah, we're so glad to hear from you. Thank you
My pleasure.
for being here.
And I think Dr. Wilson will join me next time. And so, yes.
Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that.
All right. Thank you.
And we'll move then to Oak Ridge Elementary School. Do we have a report?
We do. Penny Lotion, the principal, submitted this. During the month of May, we're moving closer to the end of the school year with the last day of school on June 3rd. Our 3rd through 5th grade teachers and students are preparing for their upcoming state end-of-grade test, which we know they will do great on. This past week was Teacher Appreciation Week, and our entire staff was showered with so much love from parents, students, and the community, with many businesses donating to the staff as well.
Thank you. And Oak Ridge Youth Association, do we have a report from them? Okay. We'll move on then to the final penultimate item on our agenda, council comments. Councilman McClellan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I want to thank everybody who did come out tonight. Wow, what an audience. And it was great to see folks taking advantage of citizen comments to sort of reinforce what was mentioned earlier about the need for noise reduction in our town core. I want to thank John and the Finance Committee. What a great budget. It does everything, but most importantly, it does not raise taxes. So, great job. On another scope, though, and that's referring to, when this was first brought up earlier last week, I believe it was, I wasn't so excited, when it was talked about extending the school zones and the school timing. But tonight, I've changed my mind. I believe that we should request that, and that we should increase the hours to 7 o'clock. And to me, this once again comes down to public safety and just good policy. And of course, I want to thank my fellow council members and the fine job that they've done tonight, particularly with the resolution to protect, our land use plan. And hopefully y'all will be writing all of our legislators that are representing Guilford County and let them know what you think. And so once again, it has always been and truly is a great honor to serve this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kinnaman.
A couple quick things. I really enjoyed, MST had a work day a couple weeks ago, and I had the privilege of standing in the river holding a beam, and while they pile drive the other one in, but the water actually was quite warm. I actually thought it was going to be a lot colder, but it is thoroughly amazing what the volunteers have done with that trail. I'm just amazed at whenever I go out there. The other thing is it's a beautiful trail. I mean, it's through wetlands, it's through some woods and things like that. So you see an amazing range of wildlife and wildflowers, and right now there's still some wildflowers out there. But if you have a chance, go down there right now and take a look. It's just unbelievably impressive. And the other thing is always Oak Ridge Methodist Church will have their blood drive the second month of every of the year, every even month of the year. So the next one's coming up June 14th. They've been doing really good with blood, but with the summer coming, I know sometimes it slacks off. But if you can give blood, please do. It's an easy way to save 3 lives. So if you can do it, please do.
and thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilman Nodine.
Yeah, I usually don't speak much at this point, but tonight I was really impressed with some of the things we heard. One is incredible, I think, is the ORCA, or Oak Ridge Military School. They've done a great job. You know, just a few months ago, or a few years ago, we were thinking it wasn't going to make it. These guys have come in and really have done great. And secondly, I think we all need to get together and really support this proposed legislation. I think that would be devastating to these small towns and other towns like Oak Ridge. So, again, I appreciate everybody's work that they've done last month, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pittman.
He says, thank you for coming. I thank you for staying.
That's it?
That's it.
Wait, you hardly said anything, and Doug gave an entire monologue. So I don't know what's going on. I want to echo what you said. I think it's terrific that the Military Academy was here, and I had a great conversation with them. And speaking of that, the other neighbors and residents who came out to talk about the noise and speeding problems, I've had some great email exchanges with them, and that's how we came up with the idea of extending the school zone and extending the hours. But I didn't want to talk very much about it until we heard from the Military Academy, and tonight we did. And I'm thrilled because the town can then go forward and talk to the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And a couple people talked about traffic calming, and as I was having conversations, email conversations with people, I realized that we're doing some traffic calming. It's going to take a couple years, but the studies, because we don't own our roads, we don't do our own studies, but NCDOT does our studies for us. And based on traffic analyses to try to slow and calm traffic as it comes into our town center, that's the basis for the intersection projects that we're going to be launching in September of, is it 22? Yes, and they'll be completed hopefully within 2 years. So there will be a traffic circle at Linville Road, and we talked about this a couple years ago, and then it got slowed down by NCDOT, but we are a priority project now. So that will slow traffic as it comes north on 68, and then the new intersection at the major intersection of 150 and 68 won't have slip lanes anymore. So if you're in one of those big trucks and you want to kind of just roar into the historic district, you're not going to be able to do that. I think that's great. And similarly, the traffic circle in front of the Commons will also serve to calm traffic going to the other end of the historic district. Because as we know from listening to other neighbors speak in past months, people as far down as Fogelman Road on 68 and people in my neighborhood behind the school have complained about the noise. And I think we're gaining a momentum, and we're planning a meeting with the sheriff's office and also the Philip Cook's security guys from the Commons also have an interest in this, because some of these offenders gather in the parking lot of the Commons at night. So I think with all of us working together, we're going to be able to make headway on this issue. And I feel terrible that I didn't thank all of the scouts for being here while they were here. And they lasted a pretty long time. I was proud of them. But we're just so excited about what the scouts are doing in our community and how they keep coming out. And I just want to encourage everyone to come to that Memorial Day event, 10 a.m. on Memorial Day, Monday, at the amphitheater. And I think that's all I had. Oh, my last piece. In the past, we used to just have an Excel spreadsheet budget. And for the past couple years, our town manager has been writing a budget message. And I think that message makes all the difference. So I want to encourage everyone to read that, because looking at the numbers, you might not know what it means. But the message tells you where the increases are, where the new projects are, and what's buried in those budget lines. So thank you, Mr. Bruce, for another great budget message. I appreciate that. We'll now move to item number 15. Yes.
Just add something. I
Sure.
just wanted to, regarding Ms. Blackburn's comments, I wanted to give some recognition to the Metal Detecting Club. There are several local members. Frank Engel is the one who contacted the town, and I believe they're called the Old North State Metal Detecting Club.
Yes.
And they've gone to AI Church and several different places, and they are the ones that found her dad's dog tags. And we were able, Debbie Schoenfeld and I were chosen to go and find, choose out of all the items that were found and select the find of the day. And we saw that, and I recognized the name. I knew exactly who it was, and we just thought that was so amazing. So I was really glad, but I did want to give those guys some recognition because they're the ones that did the hard work.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that, and that is exactly true. If there's no further comment, we'll move to item number 15, adjournment, and I'll welcome a motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Let's vote.